And they would say, see, all of those, basically, the see, you get on this high out on Handet Ada, which was saying that because they found the gold and the silver and that's why they did not return it to us. Kodoshi benkata huina tol de tiki ja hidi kat nave na tol Sunday hata tel yaaki tikat nikita needi dat ndavat esnaga to ansa jeo sidi ti na kha nino huilteita pahan neeki se hasin soko nikita ti ta arotto ei ja hinikinan aidan lini na haskuna katatta ho ei ja hidi kat na tol sitä telchit ei ja hidi kat nave Behani hato ni dan ni do. Arotto ti kaya hasin soko ti kat pakajan ni kaya to sni ni kit ne. E si e ja so da hasin soko e ja ni kit da ti asko. At the first of this month of June, we had the Treaty Day, but that's a time when, way back in our history, that our people were rounded up and put into a prison camp at Fort Sumner in New Mexico, where the land that they were put on was very poor, couldn't plant or harvest anything. And the water, of course, was very bad. And so they were there for 4 years, and many of our people perished while they were in that prison camp. The signing of the treaty in 1868 has a date on it as June 1st. And it is a time when our leaders, at that time period, there were 12 men that were actually selected. Originally, they asked for 10, but our own people said, no, we want 12 men. And so it was that the 12 leaders that were men stepped up and they put their thumbprint or their X next to their name. And so that was signed. And then, of course, it wasn't until August of 1868 before it got to the halls of Congress and where it was ratified. But the situation with the signing of the Treaty of 1868, a lot of times our people don't understand the language barrier that was there. A lot of times we would think that they just had the translator or the interpreter from the English and Navajo to English and so on. But in many cases, it was that time period, many of our leaders that were Diné spoke Spanish as a second language. And of course, they spoke other tribes' languages as well. But the Diné, they spoke Spanish as a second language. Even in my lifetime, my father spoke Spanish as a second language. My grandfather on my father's side, my great-grandfather on my father's side, they all spoke Spanish. And even on my mother's side, my great-grandmother spoke Spanish. And with my great-grandmother on my mother's side, she was 6 years old when the Treaty of 1868 was signed. And they were the ones that when they were captured or when they surrendered, my great-great-grandmother had an infant daughter. And well, she was 2 years old, but it was that they had joined a Manuelito band of people that were trying to avoid being captured. And they were the last ones to actually surrender at Fort Wingate. And then they were taken to the prison camp off in New Mexico. And so she was 6 years old when she came back from Huelte. And that was part of the thing. So when the treaty was actually being negotiated and understood, it would be understood by both parties, the United States government and the Navajo Nation. It was that a lot of it was done in Spanish, and also a combination of Navajo Spanish and then translated to the interpreters and that into English, and then of course written down on the documents. So it was that it was quite a process. And so just to have people understand that the treaty, sometimes the language that was used is very colorful and unique, and it has eloquence. And sometimes it doesn't have that, it's just flat. And so if you ever read any of these proceedings and that, as they were transcribed, you'll notice that. But I understand from the people that I actually saw what was going on, they mentioned these types of things, and I think that our people need to understand that it's important to be able to speak Navajo. It's important to be able to speak other languages, English, and even Spanish, and some of the other languages in that. Learn to speak other languages. You'll be able to understand a lot more things. I remember a lot of times when my father would speak to my great-grandmother, sometimes they would converse in Spanish. And the one time I was asking my dad, I said, why do you and Grandma speak Spanish? He said, sometimes you can say some things in Spanish that it's a lot easier to understand than if you talked about it in Navajo. And so that was his reason that he would communicate with my great-grandmother in Spanish. And then, of course, while our people were being held captive for the 4 years and being in prison, the government of the United States took the time to actually see what kind of resources that was available on the land that our people had occupied. And the things that they determined, of course, that there was no resources like gold or silver, anything like that, that wasn't available on the lands that our people had occupied, except up further north, up into Colorado, and up north of Cortez and that area, where there was a lot of land in that. Our Diné used to occupy those lands, even off into the areas around what is Mount Hesperus. That would be north of Mancos, Colorado, and northeast from Cortez, Colorado. The area was called Tahoteshia. And if you go out there now, you can see, if you're at the net, you can understand why they call it Tahoteshia. There's a lot of scrub oak and other types of trees and bushes and that, very thick. And they had trails in that they would go through to get to the place. As you get closer to Mount Hesperus, the mountain that we call the Bensa, it gets more open. And that was also the area that they had a lot of potatoes and that were harvested from that area. So the land area, the area that they did not return to the Diné, where of course most of it was in Colorado, what is known today as Colorado, because up in those areas they did find silver mines and gold. And so that portion of the land was not returned to the Diné, but also the land area, which would be north of the San Juan River into Colorado and southern Utah. Some of that land, of course, was farmlands originally up north of Hovenweep. All of that was land area, and that was not returned to the Diné. But everything south of the San Juan River, except into Colorado, everything south of that San Juan River was returned to the Diné, except it extends, of course, the reservation extends into New Mexico and Arizona and into Utah, but not into Colorado. And I asked some old people one time when they were very elderly, and they would say, she ordered over. Basically, you get on this which was saying that because they found the gold and the silver and that's why they did not return it to us. But our people did live up in that area. One other thing that I should mention, of course, is the uranium, and that was found in great abundance on lands that were occupied by our Diné. And to this day, the uranium is still there. And when they did a lot of the mining and that, they really didn't take care of the mining sites and that. And there's still a lot of open pit mines and that are really contaminating the lands and the water and everything else. And our people are really subjected to some of the radiation poisoning. So a lot of the major communities and that have places where they can be tested for the exposure to radiation. And our people are still suffering from these types of things as well. The thing about the recognizing the Treaty of 1868, I mention this because there are many things that were promised to the Diné, and those promises have not been kept. It's very important to know that, our people have no economy. They try to get by with what they can, with silversmithing and the weaving of rugs and mostly arts and craft. And very few of our people actually have businesses on the reservation. It seems like the Navajo tribe has a lot of enterprises on the reservation, and then there are certain people that seem to be favored, and so they have the opportunity to develop and take part in businesses and so on. So there are still a lot of things that we need to do as a people, as a Navajo nation. But the one thing I wish that our people understand or understood is the sovereignty issue. We can only remain sovereign as long as we act sovereign. We cannot be sovereign if we do not act like a sovereign nation. And so a lot of the times agreements are made and we kind of forfeit our sovereign status of our people. And so it kind of leads us in the wrong direction. We have our problems on the reservation, and we have to think about our economy, our education, our health and welfare, and being very careful of the resources that we have left, water and other land issues and that. Our people have to be involved. And it is always that our people would remind us, in other words, take care of the land. Take care of the land, and the land will take care of you. But you have to take care of the land. And that was something that our people would constantly tell us. I remember when going to all of the different meetings and that, at what would be known as town hall meetings in some places, but we call it chapter meetings. And these are like town halls, and our local people go and attend those meetings, and they receive information about what's happening with the tribal government and other issues of concern. And a lot of times it is land issues and the development economically, and sometimes the development of education and healthcare and all these other types of information that our people need to be made aware of. Learn history. It is very important. Learn the correct history and learn about the land issues. Learn about the tribal government. Not only tribal government, but the national government. Understand the civics, and they're so very important. And the ways that our people can become economically independent, so we don't have to do things that would jeopardize what we have or what we have received through treaty agreement. And I always encourage people, because it was something that our old people used to say. Which means if we can take care of the land, it will take care of us in the future as we make our way into the future years with our generation of our people. And we were always encouraged to do that. And those are the things that we're told.
Hey, thanks for watching our videos. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. Also, head over to our website, NavajoTraditionalTeachings.com. Sign up for our email list. Okay.